You're just an assistant. Don't flatter yourself." She said it loud enough for the hospital lobby to hear, and my stomach dropped. New York Presbyterian smelled like antiseptic and burnt coffee, and I was clutching a lukewarm Starbucks cup like it could protect me. I didn't yell. I didn't run. I just stared at my boss's wife while my phone buzzed with our 3 a.m. work pings. And that's when I realized this wouldn't stay private. And I'm Emma, 28, executive assistant at a Manhattan hedge fund. I live in a walk-up in Hell's Kitchen with a stubborn radiator and $45,000 in student loans that keep me obedient. My job is calendars, red lines, travel chaos, and the 1,000 small fires behind a CEO affair scandal headline that never actually exists, at least not for me. I'm the one who orders the car, not the scandal. I'm the one who holds the door. If you've ever kept someone's passwords, you know the pressure. NNMY boss is Alex, 45. The kind of finance guy who drinks Americanos at 6 a.m. and pretends sleep is a hobby. His wife is Sarah, 40, a PR director who walks like every hallway is a red carpet. She's tall, immaculate, and scary, in that way only someone fluent in crisis statements can be. We met twice at holiday parties. Both times she smiled at me the way you smile at someone who printed your boarding pass wrong. That smile came with a warning label. NNTHE week, everything blew up. Alex had a sudden medical issue. Real emergency. I spent the night coordinating surgeons, calling his chief of staff, moving investor calls, sending "will reschedule" emails. At 3:07 a.m., he asked for a deck we needed for Monday. I pushed the files, time-stamped, logged, everything squeaky clean. Slack, email, the secure drive. No emojis. No jokes. No boss romance. I triple-checked the audit trail like my rent depended on it. At 6:20 a.m., I was in scrubs over street clothes because registration shoved a disposable gown at me. Standard precaution near pre-op. Cold plastic chairs, fluorescent light that made everyone look fragile. That low hospital hum from monitors. I texted the team from a corner near a wall charger. Then I saw her. Sarah in a camel coat, hair perfect, phone in hand like a weapon. She scanned the room and found me in 1 second, like a heat-seeking missile. I knew this wasn't going to be a hello. NNSHE didn't sit. She stood above me, shadow long on the tile. Where is he? I told her he was in surgery, and the doctors would update us. She didn't nod. She simply held up her phone and scrolled, thumb decisive. I recognized the blue notification badges, our secure chat, my name, those 3 a.m. timestamps. Interesting hours, she said. Interesting tone. I said, evenly, they're work messages. Her eyebrows said she'd already decided otherwise. Disappear, she told me, voice calm in that practiced PR way. This is for your own good. Disappear. She said it like a line she'd said before, like a policy. The phrase hit the air so cleanly that the receptionist looked up. 2 volunteers stopped sorting blankets. I felt the heat rise in my face, the paper wristband scratching my skin. And then Sarah raised her voice. My husband is in surgery, and you're here with your little late-night chats? You think I'm stupid? People turned. Phones tilted. The lobby got smaller. I held the Starbucks cup tighter. My hands smelled like sanitizer. I didn't move. A part of me wanted to vanish into the plastic chair, let the floor swallow me, because that's how fear works. You make yourself small. Another part, the part that has paid interest on loans for 6 years, stayed upright. They're work logs, I said, quieter than I meant, feeling the words evaporate under those fluorescent lights. That was the moment I knew I needed proof. Because here's the thing about rumors in finance. Whispers move faster than markets. A forbidden love drama rumor can nuke a career before lunch. I could already see it. The side-eye in the glass conference room, the undertone on Slack, the concerned HR meeting. The worst part? I'd done nothing wrong, and still, I felt guilty. That's the trap. You start explaining so hard you look guilty anyway, and I took out my phone. I had everything. Screenshots of the project thread, file share logs, subject lines like Q4 model variants, timestamped approvals. Even the calendar invite that said Night Ops Deck Final with both our initials. No jokes, no hearts, no flirting. Just a digital trail of a frantic night keeping a firm steady. My thumb hovered over the share icon. Do I make a scene or stay small? And then I heard another sound, different from the lobby murmur. A recording chime. I turned my head. A nurse, maybe mid-30s, badge that said Jane, was near the volunteer table with her phone angled low. She wasn't smirking. She looked concerned. She caught my eye and gave the tiniest nod, like, "I've got this." The PR part of my brain, yes, assistants grow one, noticed the detail. Her phone was already recording before Sarah hit full volume. Someone else saw what I saw, and Sarah stepped closer. Her perfume cut through the antiseptic, sharp and expensive. "You're not special," she said. "You're an assistant. Without us, you're nothing." That line? It will live in my head forever. I felt something inside me stop shaking. Not confidence, exactly. Just a clear, hard line. I wasn't going to cry in a lobby. I wasn't going to apologize for doing my job. I was going to collect facts. When shame fades, strategy shows up. And I didn't argue. I stood, tossed the empty cup and said, "I'll wait for the doctor's update." Neutral. Documentable. Then I walked to the other side of the lobby and opened a clean notes file. Hospital lobby, 8:03 a.m. witnesses present. I typed every sentence she'd said. I pasted the file path to the deck. I saved screen recordings of our chat. I took a photo of the clock. If they want receipts, I'll bring a binder. I waited by the vending machines, pretending to read a flyer about flu shots while my notes app kept growing. Hospital light buzzed overhead, flat and relentless. I could still hear Sarah's voice traveling across the tile like a press release with teeth. My fingers shook less now that I was typing everything time-stamped. Paper trails beat panic every time. And Nurse Jane drifted closer like she was checking a supply cart. She kept her phone face down against her scrubs, camera still pointed toward the lobby. No theatrics, no smirk, just quiet focus. When she reached the cart, she pulled a sticky note, wrote something fast, and tucked it under my Starbucks sleeve, like we were strangers in a spy movie. I didn't look until she wheeled away. It was a Gmail address, and video right pointing arrow after shift. I suddenly had an ally with a camera and NMY watch buzzed. Slack ping from the trading desk. Status on Alex? Then another from HR, the kind that pretends to be friendly. "Hey Emma, hope you're okay. Quick touch base today." In corporate translation, quick means scripted. I typed neutral answers. No feelings, no adjectives. "He's in surgery. I'm available afternoon." I attached the doctor's pre-op note they'd handed me. Facts first, feelings later. And Sarah paced the lobby, on and off calls. Voice low, diction perfect. A PR director in her natural habitat. At one point, she glanced at me and smiled that PR smile again. Polite, with a blade inside. "You're too sensitive," she called across the room, soft, like advice. Two volunteers looked at me, then away. There it was. The classic line that turns your reaction into the problem. Label the target, then own the narrative. Ann and I kept logging everything. The security guard, who asked if I was okay. The elderly couple whispering. The exact time the surgeon emerged to give a calm update. Procedure going well, we'd hear more soon. I thanked him. Sarah asked when she could see her husband. I stepped back, stayed small, didn't invite another scene. "Disappear," she'd said earlier. That line scratched at my wristband, like sandpaper. Words can bruise without touching you. At 10:12 a.m., Jane passed again and dropped a fresh pair of nitrile gloves on the cart. Casual. Underneath them, another sticky. "I saw everything. Hold your ground." I swallowed hard, that burning behind the eyes feeling. I nodded once when our eyes met. If you've ever been stuck in a forbidden workplace rumor spiral, you know witnesses are oxygen. I had one who wore a badge. One witness can outvote 1,000 whispers. NNBY late morning, the lobby thinned. The coffee cart hissed and sputtered. The whole place smelled like steamed milk and cleaner. My phone lit up with a calendar hold from HR. Informal check-in, 3:30 p.m. Zoom. I accepted, then added my own invite for legal/compliance at 4 p.m. with the subject line, documentation review. Not a threat, just a process. I also created a folder called Hospital Lobby Event and dropped everything in. Screenshots, notes, timestamps, even a photo of the clock above admitting. If it's not saved, it didn't happen. Then came the tilt. Sarah walked straight to me with that perfect straight spine. "You will send me those chats," she said quietly. "Or I'll ask the board why you needed my husband at 3 a.m. I kept my voice level. "Company data is handled through compliance." She leaned closer. Perfume. Cold metal zipper near my cheek. "No one will believe you," she whispered. There it was. The power line. I let a beat pass. "Then we'll both benefit from records," I said. I refused the script she wrote for me. The surgeon returned, steady and kind. Surgery successful, recovery plan, no visitors for a few hours. Relief hit the room in a visible wave, even made Sarah's shoulders drop. I thanked him again and texted the team the good news. She pocketed her phone, shot me one last look, half warning, half victory, and left with quick, controlled steps. The lobby noise swelled back to normal. I sat down and finally breathed without that tight band around my ribs. The storm paused, but it wasn't over. Jane finished her shift around noon. She approached the vending machines, bought water, and stood beside me like two people sharing silence. "I'm Jane," she said, voice low. "I record incidents for my own protection. Your situation, it got loud." I nodded. "I'm Emma, thank you." She shrugged like it was nothing and typed her number into my phone. "I'll airdrop or email after I scrub faces," she said. I don't want to violate policy. Healthcare boundaries, music to my compliance brain. Good allies protect themselves too. And I grabbed a late sandwich and sat near a window, heat blasting under the sill. I built a one-page timeline. Night ops deck request. 3:07 a.m. file push. Hospital check-in. Public accusation. I added bullet points of what Sarah said, word for word. "This is for your own good. Disappear. You're just an assistant. You're too sensitive. No one will believe you." Seeing them stacked on paper made the whole CEO affair scandal vibe look ridiculous. It read like bad PR copy. Gaslighting looks flimsy when typed out. Before I left, I stopped at the information desk and asked for security footage protocol. The receptionist handed me a printout. Public areas often recorded. Requests go through hospital legal. It wasn't my first line of defense, but it was another angle. I photographed the paper and filed it. Layers matter in a reputation fight. Layers win. Multiple receipts, one clear story. Dutch and I texted HR to confirm the 3:30 p.m. Zoom. Emailed legal/compliance with materials available upon request. And messaged Alex's chief of staff with the surgery update so there'd be a clean company record. Then I stepped outside into the Manhattan cold. Traffic punching the air with horns, and flagged a yellow cab back to Midtown. In the window reflection, I looked exactly like what I am, a tired assistant with a good memory and a full folder. Next stop, HR, with evidence on deck. By the time I got back to our office in Midtown, my stomach was tight from more than hospital vending machine food. HR had sent 3 friendly reminders about the 3:30 p.m. Zoom. Translation: they were sharpening their notes. I grabbed a latte from the lobby Starbucks, sat in an empty glass huddle room, and opened the folder I'd built. My laptop fan hummed like it was nervous too. This wasn't going to be a chat, and at 3:28 p.m., I logged in early. HR joined at 3:29, all smiles and soft voices. "Hi Emma, thanks for taking the time today. How are you holding up?" I gave the answer they wanted. "Doing okay, thanks." Then the shift. "We've received some concerns." Always plural, never from whom. "We'd like to understand the nature of your late-night communications with Alex." There it was, the rumor in HR packaging. They'd already written a headline. Assistant plus affair equals risk. And I didn't flinch. I shared screen. Folder labeled Hospital Lobby Event. First, screenshot of the 3:07 a.m. message. Subject line, Q4 variance deck. Next, file share log with timestamps. Then, the email thread confirming investor prep. I narrated calmly. Coffee and reach, tone flat. As you can see, the communications were operational, time-stamped, and required for Monday's board review. HR shifted in their seats. Pens paused. When facts flood in, narratives choke. One manager tried the classic. "We just want to make sure boundaries are respected." I nodded. "That's why I've documented every interaction. I've also opened a compliance folder if further review is needed." Then I clicked a separate tab. Notes file from the hospital, word-for-word quotes. She said, "This is for your own good. Disappear. You're just an assistant. You're too sensitive. No one will believe you." This was stated in a public lobby with multiple witnesses. Silence on their end. Toxic lines sound worse when read back. And at 3:44 p.m., my phone buzzed. A new email from Jane. Subject: video file, edited for privacy. I almost laughed at the timing. I asked HR if I could share something additional. They agreed, and I played the 90-second clip. Sarah's voice, loud and clear, echoing under hospital lights. The camera wobbled slightly, but every phrase was intact. Disappear. No one will believe you. Her coat, her gestures, her volume. HR leaned closer to their screens. That was the moment I knew the tide had turned. When the video ended, I closed my laptop lid halfway and said, I'm confident compliance will want the full file. For now, I'd like this logged as harassment. Their smiles were gone. One finally said, we'll escalate this appropriately, which is HR code for, this is bigger than us. I didn't grin. I didn't gloat. I just sipped my latte and wrote down the exact time they said it. If you don't log the win, it didn't happen. At 4 p.m. sharp, I clicked into the legal/compliance call. Different energy. No smiles, just forms. They asked for copies, chain of custody, metadata. I provided everything. Slack logs, email headers, video file. They thanked me, clinical, no judgment. One lawyer actually said, this protects you as much as the firm. That line landed heavier than I expected. Protects me, not just the company. Finally, someone admitted I wasn't disposable. By 5 p.m., my desk looked like a war zone. Empty cups, folders open, phone buzzing with colleagues checking on Alex's health. I gave the sanitized version. Surgery successful, recovery underway. I didn't mention his wife's lobby explosion. Gossip spreads fast enough without me feeding it. Instead, I pinged Jane. Got your video, saved my job, thank you. She replied with a simple thumbs up emoji. Clean, no trail. Smart. Good allies don't need applause. On the way home, I stopped at CVS for Advil and protein bars because the adrenaline crash was real. I walked past a Tesla idling at the curb, Manhattan Flex, and thought about how surreal it was that someone in that world just screamed at me like I was disposable. I climbed the subway stairs with the sound of her words still echoing. Without us, you're nothing. The tiles smelled like damp iron and disinfectant. I wrote them again in my notes. If you write the insult, you control it. NNTHAT, night. Lying in bed with my radiator clicking like it had an attitude, I kept replaying the scene. The smell of sanitizer. The bright fluorescent light. The empty Starbucks cup in my hand like a shield. And Jane's nod across the lobby. That nod might have saved me. I set an alarm for 6:30 a.m. because hedge funds don't pause for scandal, and texted myself one reminder. Tomorrow, boundaries. Because survival isn't just proof, it's lines you won't cross again. The next morning started like any other in Manhattan finance. Gray sky, cold wind, and a line at Starbucks full of people pretending they weren't exhausted. I grabbed my usual iced latte, yes, even in winter, and walked into the office with my laptop bag heavier than it looked. My calendar was stacked. Team call at 8:30, catch up with Alex's chief of staff, and an all-hands check-in HR had scheduled for noon. That last one made my chest tighten. Big meetings are where rumors die or multiply. At 8:45, I sent out a clean email update. Alex's surgery successful, estimated recovery timeline, investor calls rescheduled. Bullet points only, no adjectives, no room for spin. I copied HR, legal, and his chief of staff. Then I archived it in the hospital lobby event folder. Receipts stacked high enough to stand on. NNBY 10 a.m. Jane texted me from an unknown number with just 3 words. Stay steady today. I smiled at my desk like someone had handed me armor. I pinned the message in a hidden folder. Allies like her are rare. You don't waste them. I tightened my ponytail, clicked through spreadsheets, and reminded myself, the story wasn't, quote, assistant scandal. The story was, assistant documented everything. That was the version I needed in circulation. Noon hit. HR led the meeting in a glass conference room overlooking 6th Avenue. About 30 people dialed in remotely. Sarah walked in late, hair glossy, coat draped over her arm like a costume. She sat near the front, scanning the room. My stomach flipped, but my face didn't move. HR started with, we'd like to address some rumors that have created unnecessary tension. Classic opener. Pretend the storm is tension. The corporate way of saying, chaos happened. And I raised my hand before anyone else could. My voice was steady, but my heart was sprinting. If I may clarify, there were no inappropriate communications with Alex. Here's the timeline. I clicked my screen share. Up came the Slack log, file path, timestamp, 3:07 a.m. project deck delivery, 6:20 a.m. hospital registration, 8:03 a.m. public confrontation. Here are the exact phrases that were said. I read them slowly. This is for your own good. Disappear. You're just an assistant. You're too sensitive. No one will believe you. The room froze on that last one. Then I played Jane's video. 90 seconds of raw hospital audio. Sarah's voice bouncing against sterile walls. The hum of monitors in the background. The antiseptic smell almost bleeding through the speakers. Her words cut clean and sharp. Disappear. Without us, you're nothing. People shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some turned cameras off. HR stared at their notes, like they wished the floor would open. That was the moment the mask cracked. When the video ended, I stopped sharing and folded my hands. I'd like this entered into the record as workplace harassment. My voice didn't waver. HR cleared their throat. Thank you, Emma, we'll review. But the room already knew. Sarah's power came from her image. And now 30 colleagues had heard her yell like a tabloid headline. She didn't speak. She didn't defend. She just sat there, perfectly still, like a statue cracking from the inside. Silence can be louder than shouting. Afterward, people avoided eye contact like I'd shown them a crime scene. A few whispered, "Good job," as they passed my desk. HR emailed that further steps will be taken. Translation: Sarah's PR polish was officially tarnished. Alex's chief of staff pinged me privately. "You handled that well, we'll make sure you're protected." Protected, not praised, not promoted, protected. But still, it felt like oxygen. Sometimes survival itself is the win. At 5 p.m., HR called me back in. They offered a, quote, gesture for the stress endured. A $10,000 raise effective immediately. I nodded, thanked them, signed the papers. I didn't ask for more. I didn't need fireworks. What I needed was proof that my job wasn't hanging by a rumor. Money doesn't erase humiliation, but it does pay down loans. Practical victories count too. Walking home that night, I passed Rockefeller Center lit up for Thanksgiving week. The smell of roasted nuts mixed with the sharp wind. People laughed, carrying shopping bags, like nothing in the world could fracture them. My phone buzzed again. Jane. Saw the clip worked. Glad it helped. I typed back. It saved me. Coffee on me anytime. She left it on red. Perfect. Quiet allies stay quiet. Not every hero wears scrubs, but mine did. When I unlocked my apartment, radiator hissing like always, I set my laptop down and leaned against the counter. I replayed the meeting in my head. The silence, the stares, the way Sarah's voice echoed in front of everyone. I wasn't proud, exactly. I wasn't triumphant. I was just steady. I had survived a public accusation in a world where one rumor can end you. And I knew she'd never look at me the same again. The following week felt like walking on ice that hadn't cracked yet. Alex was recovering, out of office, so the spotlight was weirdly on me. Not for a promotion, not for recognition, just for whispers. People in the elevator gave me those sideways glances, like they'd seen a headline that never got published. I'd smile, nod, keep earbuds in. But inside, I replayed the lobby, the tape, the silence in that conference room. Public humiliation leaves a residue, even when you win. And Sarah didn't show up at the office for a few days. When she finally reappeared, it was only in a smaller meeting. No grand entrance, no public speech. She kept her head down, eyes on her phone, lips pressed like stone. HR had clearly put her through some mandatory coaching sessions, which is corporate language for, you embarrassed the firm, fix it or leave. She avoided me entirely. And honestly, that was better than another confrontation. Sometimes no contact is the cleanest boundary. And I still carried that Starbucks sleeve Jane had slipped her first note into. It sat in my desk drawer, folded flat, alongside the sticky note with her email. Dumb, maybe, but it became a symbol for me. Proof that even when someone tried to erase me with disappear, someone else thought I was worth documenting. That sleeve reminded me, Don't delete yourself for other people's comfort. Symbols matter more than apologies. NNHR followed up with an official letter. The incident was reviewed and resolved. My raise was confirmed, and Sarah had acknowledged the inappropriate nature of her comments. No direct apology to me, of course. PR people apologize like politicians. Vague, plural, never personal. But the acknowledgement sat in the file. If she ever tried again, it wouldn't be my word against hers. It would be my binder against her record. Paper trails beat power plays every time. And over Thanksgiving break, I finally took 2 days off. First time in months. I sat in my apartment with Netflix on autoplay and thought about how close I'd come to losing everything. Not because I did something wrong, but because perception can crush reality. I thought about how Sarah's words stuck. You're just an assistant. And yet, here I was, the assistant who had built a case strong enough to force a PR director into silence. That was the moment I knew titles aren't everything. And friends asked if I'd ever confront her again, if I'd demand a direct apology. I laughed. What for? The video spoke louder than anything she could say now. She wanted me erased. Instead, she became the one frozen in that clip, yelling in a hospital lobby, while I stayed calm. That's permanent, that's the record. Her mask cracked, not mine. You don't always need revenge. The tape replays itself. Still, I can't lie. There are nights I wonder if it was worth it. Standing in that lobby, every eye on me, while someone called me disposable. It burned. Even with the raise, even with the vindication, there's a scar. I don't walk into public rooms the same way anymore. I'm sharper, more prepared, but also more guarded. That's the trade-off. Survival costs softness. Winning doesn't erase the bruise. Nechawa sent Jane a gift card for coffee with no name attached. Just a note. For recording the truth. She didn't reply, and I didn't expect her to. Sometimes the best thanks is distance. But I'll never forget that nod across the lobby. That nod was proof that not everyone was willing to let me be buried under someone else's narrative. Small gestures can save careers. Now, weeks later, Sarah still avoids me in meetings. HR keeps checking in like I'm a live grenade they need to handle carefully. Alex is back, grateful for my support during his medical leave, but blissfully unaware of how his wife tried to implode my life. Maybe that's better. Maybe it's enough that I kept my job, paid down a chunk of debt, and drew a boundary line no one can pretend isn't there. Survival is its own kind of power. So here I am, 28, still an assistant in Manhattan, but one with receipts, scars, and a Starbucks sleeve in her drawer. I'm not telling this for pity. I'm telling it because if someone tries to erase you with, "No one will believe you," remember? One video can change everything. Would you forgive such a public accusation from your boss's wife? Or would you keep the binder like I did, waiting for the next time someone thinks you're disposable?